Hello and welcome to the Edward Little Library Read Aloud of Nightbooks by J.A. White, read with permission from HarperCollins Children's Publishers. So today's Friday and we are reading chapter 14 today, but we're going to, of course, recap what happened yesterday in chapter 13. So Alex and Yasmin head to the library. Now, although Alex hopped from topic to topic, in the end, Yasmin learned everything there was to know about the unicorn girl, the forest that Alex had glimpsed through the bedroom door, and his sudden shortage of stories. Alex tells Yasmin that he thinks that they can escape, but in order to do so, they need to search the rest of the books to find more notes in the margin from the mysterious girl who left them there. He thinks it's possible that the unicorn girl may have written the escape plan somewheres in those books. Yasmin agrees to start searching while Alex goes back and tries to write. Remember, he's like out of stories. He has like 2 stories left in his notebook because the shredder has eaten his other, or has shredded his other 2 notebooks. He believes he has complete and total writer's block because he has no ideas. Not a single sentence will come to him. In the end, they both try to come up with a good story and some ideas that will help Alex write something so Natasha will like it. Jealous ghosts seems to be the subject that Alex thinks might work. And that's actually something that like him and Yasmin talk about. Yasmin goes back to searching books, wondering all the while if it is all just a big goose chase and they'll never find anything else. She tells Alex, maybe you already found everything that the girl has written. But you know what? Yasmin was wrong. So that's where we left off. Chapter 13. We're starting today on chapter 14. And the title of this chapter is called The Missing Ingredient. Oops, need my glasses. Here we go. Alex woke up early the next morning and trudged back to the library. He hadn't made any headway with his jealous ghost story the day before, but his ideas grew best in the soil of sleep, and he felt on the verge of a breakthrough. The story's almost loose, he thought. I just have to pry it out. He sat in his chair and got straight to work. The first story he wrote was called Quarters. It was about a dead kid who misses video games and haunts this retro arcade. He gets jealous since all he can do is watch the living kids play, so he messes up their games, making the screens flicker and bug out at inopportune moments. Alex got about 2 pages into the story and stopped. It wasn't working. He couldn't say exactly why. It was like a potential friendship that had all the right ingredients, but no chemistry. As Yasmin entered the library and started searching the shelves, Alex flipped to a new page. In his second story, a recently deceased girl grows envious of the ghost next door, who haunts a much nicer house. Alex got a little further into this one, close to 4 pages, before giving up. It's no good, he thought, slapping the can of pencils off the desk. He removed his glasses and rubbed his eyes with the palms of his hands. After reading to Natasha last night, he was down to his final story. The pressure was making it hard to concentrate. Yasmin shouted in jubilation. I found another entry, she exclaimed, holding a book aloft. Or, at least, Alex assumed that was what she was holding. Yasmin had climbed past the midway point of the tower and was little more than a small figure in the distance. Don't read it, Alex shouted, cupping his hands to his mouth. Wait for me. Okay, I'm heading down. The stairs shook beneath Yasmin's feet. Alex, too excited to wait, started toward her. They met somewhere in the middle and huddled together on the stairs, their backs pressed against a bookcase. She wrote a lot this time, Yasmin said. Good, Alex said out of breath. The more we know, the better. Yasmin propped the book, titled Stories That Watch You Sleep, against her bent legs. She opened it to the page she had been holding with her index finger. Handwritten words were slashed into the page like paper wounds. Whoa, Alex said. Is this even the same girl? Only one way to find out, replied Yasmin. They read it together. So it's a story within a story, so I will show you the page. and you can see the writing in the margins. And I will first read the story and then read what the Unicorn Girl wrote in the margins. So this story that they found the words in the margin is called Stories That Watch You Sleep. So it starts kind of in the middle. Night fell. The princess realized that she was completely lost. With the first stirrings of true panic, she lifted her lantern and followed the path, praying that it would lead back to the castle. In moments, she found herself surrounded by mist-shrouded trees, their skeletal branches perfect for princess snatching. She increased her pace, no longer caring that the hem of her beautiful gown was getting splattered by mud. For the first time in her life, she realized that there were places in the world where not even a princess was safe. In time, she came to a stone bridge that spanned a narrow stream. A shadowy figure waited on the other side. The princess thought that it might have been a man, but it was hard to tell. Every time she looked directly at it, her eyes blurred and went out of focus. "Hello?" the princess asked. "Hello?" the shadow replied. The beauty of the shadow's voice surprised her. Its singing voice was even lovelier, though the princess would not have recognized any of the songs. So that's the story within this book. Now, here's what the Unicorn Girl wrote in the margins. "The witch thinks I'm stupid, but she's stupid. She don't know what I've been up to. She don't know how good I've got with the plants. I figured out how to make a sleeping potion. Well, almost figured out. I tried to put a few drops in the cat's water, but the cat won't drink because it smells so bad. So I forced myself to drink some. Sleeping potion. 1 part suckleweed, 2 parts Gretchen's Fury, 4 parts yellow glass, and a pinch of demon's mane. I slept for a long, long time. See, witch, anyone can do magic." Here's the story in the book that continues. "I think I'm lost," the princess said. "So it seems. I'm looking for the castle. That's a long way off. Could you take me there?" she asked. "I'm a princess." "I'm a shadow," said the shadow. "Why don't you cross the bridge?" "Is that the safest way to the castle?" "Cross the bridge, and I'll whisper the answer in your ear." The princess, mesmerized by the shadow's voice, found herself walking across the bridge. As she passed the midway point, she was able to see the shadow more clearly. Its shape kept changing. Sometimes it was a man, sometimes a woman, sometimes it was something else altogether. The princess tried to stop walking, but the voice lassoed her forward. "Come on, little princess," the shadow said, opening its arms wide. "Just a few steps more." Okay, so here is the next page with the writing in the margin from the Unicorn Girl, and here's what it has to say. "I can't put it in the witch's drink. If she smells it, she'll know. There must be something I can use to hide it. I will keep trying. Close, so close. Then, when the witch is asleep, I'm going to steal her keys and go home. But what if she finds me again? What if she drags me back here? I wish I had magic. Then I could turn her into a toad or a snail and laugh at her all day long. But I don't have magic. All I have is this knife. I hate her, I hate her, I hate her. It is not sharp, but it is sharp enough." Yasmin closed the book. "Unicorn Girl got dark," she said. "It sounds like she's planning to kill Natasha in her sleep." "Except obviously she didn't," Yasmin replied. "That doesn't mean the other part of her plan didn't work. She still could have escaped." Alex considered this for a moment. "Maybe she just chickened out on the actual stabbing part. Saying it is one thing, doing it is another. I hate Natasha, but I wouldn't be able to go through with it. You?" Yasmin thought about it and then shook her head. "We'll never know what happened for sure," Alex said, "but the important part is that we now have the recipe for a sleeping potion. Do we have those ingredients?" "Yes," Yasmin said. "They're pretty common, actually. But, so, can you make it? Listen, Alex, this girl must have been here a long time ago if Natasha was still making potions. Even if I knew how to make the liquid base I'd need, we don't have the right equipment anymore. Natasha said she got rid of all of it when she switched over to essential oils. Does it matter? Alex asked. Wouldn't the ingredients be the same? I don't know, Yasmin said. I guess it might work. These magical recipes usually have to be just right, though. If not, bad things happen, like with the danglers. She twisted the brim of her cap in her hands, thinking it over. Still, as long as I keep the ratios the same, and it's not like Natasha would miss any of the ingredients. She shrugged her shoulders. It's worth a try, I guess. You can do it, Alex said. I know you can. Even if I do, Yasmin said, there's still a problem. The smell. It must be from the suckleweed. That stuff stinks something awful, and I have no idea what we could use to mask it. Without that missing ingredient, the oil is useless. So we keep looking, Alex said. Unicorn Girl must have written it down somewhere. I'm not so sure about that, Yasmin said. At this point, she seems more in action mode than writing mode. The moment she discovered the missing ingredient, I think she'd just move ahead with her plan. Well, we have to at least try. I have to try, Yasmin said. You have to write a story. You only have one left, Alex. Who knows what Natasha will do if you don't? Alex grabbed her forearm in excitement. A story, he exclaimed. That could actually work. You're a genius. Huh? We need to find out the missing ingredient, right? And we know... A piercing yowl cut off his sentence. It was coming from far below. Alex looked over the railing and saw Lenore materialize on top of the desk. She looked up at them and yowled again. No, Yasmin exclaimed. How long has she been down there? The whole time, I bet, Alex said, cursing himself for forgetting about the cat. She probably heard everything. She's going to tell Natasha. We have to stop her. They ran down the stairs as fast as they could. Lenore didn't turn invisible as Alex figured she would. Instead, she was doing something to the books they had left on the desk. He couldn't see exactly what without slowing down, and he wasn't sure it mattered. The most important thing was to keep the little spy away from her master. But why make such a dramatic appearance, he wondered. Why not just remain invisible and tell Natasha later? He had no idea. Lenore, Alex said, as he finally reached the bottom of the stairs. I don't know what you heard, but it's not what you think. I was just running story ideas by Yasmin, okay? Lenore gave him a look of insulted disbelief. Just because I'm a cat doesn't make me stupid. As Alex moved straight ahead, Yasmin circled around to the back of the desk. The idea wasn't to sneak up on Lenore, who clearly knew she was coming. They were just trying to cut off any exit paths. Then again, Alex wasn't convinced that either one of them would be able to stop Lenore, even if they tried. She might have looked like a lazy house cat, but she was a fierce fighter. Lenore, Yasmin began, her voice gentle. Please, we helped you. Remember? Let's be friends. Behind Alex, the door handle rattled. He spun around just as Natasha burst into the room. She eyed the two with triumph. Why the guilty looks? The witch asked. That's why Lenore started yowling, Alex thought. She heard Natasha come home. She was calling her to the library, so we wouldn't be caught red-handed. We're not doing anything, Yasmin said weakly. True, Natasha said, picking up a pencil from the desk. You're not in the nursery tending to my plants. She leveled her gaze on Alex. And you're not writing. So what exactly are you two doing? The pencil in Natasha's hand transformed into a yellow snake that slithered between her fingers. Tell me, she said, before I forget to ask nicely. Well, Yasmin was helping me with research for a story, Alex said. I want to make sure I get all the details just right. Research? Natasha asked dubiously. That's right, Yasmin said, going with it. Research. A whole lot of research. Research about what? Natasha asked. She kept her eyes glued to Yasmin, waiting for an answer. You know, Yasmin said, shifting from foot to foot, well, Alex came to me at breakfast. We had oatmeal, and he asked if I could help him learn some things. About magic oils, Alex said. He folded his arms across his chest to hide his trembling hands. I wanted to get all the little details right. Yasmin's the expert. Natasha's face tightened. The pencil snake, sensing its master's discomfiture, bared its lead fangs in Alex's direction. The expert? Natasha asked. That girl doesn't know a single thing that I didn't teach her. I wouldn't be so sure about that, Alex said. I think Yasmin might have picked up some really fascinating techniques on her own. Who knows? Maybe she could teach you a thing or two. What? Natasha snarled, glaring at Yasmin. She's not even a witch. Yasmin shot Alex a nervous look. What are you doing? True, Alex said in a pacifying tone, stepping between them. Obviously, Yasmin wasn't my first choice, only I couldn't go to you for research. I want the story to be a surprise. Otherwise, what's the point? This seemed to mollify Natasha somewhat. The anger that faded from her face, however, was quickly replaced by a fiendish grin. You wouldn't be telling me a story, storyteller, she asked, would you? Of course not. We'll see about that, she said. Lenore! The cat leaped gracefully off the desk and landed at Natasha's feet. Tell me what these two were really doing. Alex looked at Yasmin. She was trying to keep her face as impassive as possible, but he could see the panic swirling in her eyes. What do we do? He thought. If they ran, they would just be admitting their guilt, and where could they go? On the other hand, if they stayed here and Lenore told Natasha they had been planning their escape, there's no way out of this, Alex thought. Natasha traced a line in the air from her ear to Lenore's mouth. As she did, a narrow tube of swirling green water appeared. Lenore meowed into the bottom of the tube over and over again, and tiny bubbles floated through the water and up to the witch's ear, which reminds me a little bit about Harry Potter. It's an animal translator, Alex thought. Unfortunately, Natasha did not look pleased by whatever Lenore was saying. Alex and Yasmin shared a concerned look. Really? The witch asked, her tone more accusatory than surprised. That can't be right. More meowing. Are you sure? Some final meows, more insistent this time, as though Lenore was getting annoyed with her master. Natasha, for her part, looked like she wanted to kick the cat across the room. So be it, Natasha said. She waved the translator out of existence and faced the children. Lenore tells me she's been here all morning, Natasha said through gritted teeth, and that what you just said is the absolute and total truth. Alex clamped his mouth shut so his jaw didn't fall open in shock. Lenore lied for us, he thought. After all the trouble you two caused with the danglers, Natasha continued, I decided to make a surprise visit to check up on you. Looks like you've learned your lesson. Now make sure you don't forget it. She reached for the doorknob and then looked back over her shoulder at Alex. I look forward to your story tonight. Hopefully all that research has paid off. Well, that particular story isn't finished yet, Alex said. Maybe tomorrow or the next. Tonight, Natasha said with a threatening glare. I can't wait. She left the room. I am so confused right now, Yasmin said. I thought Lenore was making all that noise to tell Natasha what we were up to, but... She heard Natasha come home early, Alex said. She was warning us to get down from the tower. Less suspicious that way. And look at what she did with the books, Yasmin added, gesturing toward a neat stack on the table. Like total idiots, we left them open to the Unicorn Girl entries. Lenore closed them all so Natasha wouldn't see. She wasn't tattling on us. She was saving us. But why? Both turned toward the cat, who hopped up on the table and lay down as if nothing had happened. Yasmin's ointment had done its work. Her wounds were almost entirely healed. Because we were kind, Alex said. And kindness beats cruelty every time. He reached down and stroked Lenore's head. She let him. You're a prisoner just like us, aren't you? Yasmin asked, bending down. We're going to escape, or try to at least. She rubbed the cat's stomach. Do you want to come with us? Alex wasn't sure how many of the words Lenore understood without a magical translator, but it must have been enough. She began to purr. Alex and Yasmin looked at each other and smiled. Now, there were 3. Okay, well, that is the end of chapter 14 for today. So we will, it is vacation week next week, so we are not going to read next week during vacation week, but we will come back on that Monday and start up again with chapter 15. And at that time, I'll really make a good effort to renew everything that's happened thus far so that we're all kind of in the same place in terms of remembering where we are in our story. So that's the end for today. Thank you so much for joining in. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I have. And again, have a great vacation, everyone, and I will see you back here again in a week. All right, so have a great day, everyone.